Hello, responders, again with another video. Really glad to be back. I'm so sorry I've been away. I've had multiple conferences I went to, which were great. I'm probably going to release an episode about these conferences just because there's a lot of good information that I want to share with you guys. So, this video and podcast episode is going to be about the cost of waiting for developing a layflat hose plan. And this is for water and wastewater because they're kind of both can be intertwined together. Now, I know there's some specifics when it comes to water and wastewater, but we're going to talk about generic reasons why you should. So, number one, for emergency reasons, it takes 2 to 4 months to get a lot of this equipment, and especially now with a lot of the trade supply chain issues and all that. And we're going to talk about that later. So, you got to think about in those terms that you can't just wait around on this stuff. You're going to be just going around like a chicken without his head, trying to find this stuff if you're in a position where you need it. So try to think ahead before and think about what you might need if something were to happen. Now, with that being said, when I meant equipment, I meant the trailers, all the accessories, all the fittings. A hose does take long sometimes, depending on what size you need. Especially above 6 inch. And that's pretty much across the board for water and wastewater. Once you get above 6, 8, really tough to find, hose that's just readily available. Now, with that being said, the fracking business, especially for the wastewater people, you can kind of piggyback off what they've been using because they use huge, large diameter hose. But still, it doesn't mean that they always have it on inventory. They have seasons where they drill and stuff like that. Sometimes you can piggyback off that and maybe get some large diameter hose. But in general, it's pretty difficult to get. Now, another aspect too is figuring out your modeling on your pumps, your distances. All that stuff actually does take time. So now, in an emergency, of course, when you have all hands on deck, it's you can get it done pretty fast. But if you're planning on developing or investing into an emergency management strategy, you want to be thinking about this in advance so that you can be prepared when something does happen. I also said fittings and adapters. Those are so important. A lot of people forget about that. Fittings and adapters are pretty important. They're not the regular stuff is available, but not adapters, reducers, and all that. That's you have to be careful for. Also, knowing your vulnerabilities in your system. Some people tell me, well, my whole system can be compromised. Why should I even buy it? You got to get away from the all or nothing attitude. Now, when you ever see when Homeland Security or FEMA recommends earthquake preparedness for households, do they say to prepare for everything? Like make sure you have like years of food available, water? No, they just say prepare for a week or something like that. That's kind of like this equipment, layflat hose. You don't need to buy tons of it to cover your whole system. It's just there to patch up some of the major arteries of your system. So you want to think about it in that way. Okay, another reason you shouldn't wait. It's for training and maintenance reasons. Let me explain a little bit on this. It'll be quick though. It does take a month or so for your field guys to get used to this equipment. It's not. Sure, I would say it's easy to use, a little more harder to maintain, but you still need time for your guys to get used to it, how to use it, how it feels, what can you get away with the tolerances of the hose, how are we gonna, how are we gonna set this up if something happens. All that stuff does take time. Now, in emergency, yeah, sure, you could probably figure it out, but it's just probably not gonna look very pretty. And sometimes you might even have maybe some leaks. You don't want to, there's all kinds of stuff that could happen. But if you do this beforehand, you're going to have a more smoother transition into bypassing or cleaning up a situation. And you're going to be able to do it very fast, which is, time is key for responders, distribution supervisors, anybody who's dealing with liquids in any way. This is a great way to do it. Now, maintaining the equipment, that's more, if you're not using it, you want to always maintain it, and you want to, let your fleet guys or your facility guys how to maintain it. So that does take time as well. But I would say the training is probably the most important, because you want your guys to be comfortable with this equipment, and just throwing it at them in an emergency is difficult. So that way, this is one great reason why you should try to invest into a lay flat hose program before the emergency. Okay, our next point, the third reason why it matters, especially now. Now, we live in a crazy time, as you know, right now, especially with inflation. Even on our end, hoses, fittings, equipment, it's all getting more expensive. Now, I know it's tough for all of us, but I don't like it. It doesn't make us happy, because people delay their purchases, but it's probably not going to slow down anytime soon. So we can't let that discourage us. Supply chain delays, also labor issues. We can't even get some people that are willing to even receive the hose in the warehouse. Just not enough people who want to work. So there's a lot of downtime or delays because of this. So that's why it's good to think about it before, especially now. You want to just try to move on it as soon as you can. Also, local disasters are rising. If you just look at FEMA reports everywhere, there's hurricanes everywhere, there's wildfires everywhere. There's all kinds of different things happening all the time at once. So especially now, I would think, and I recommend you deeply think about, hey, look, can we put at least part of this system into a strategy of somehow? Okay, so my fourth reason, don't get comfortable. I know I've said this a million times, and I'm going to say it again. Just because nothing has happened doesn't mean nothing will happen. Some of my best customers are the ones that something has happened, an outage of some type, a local disaster. These people know that things can get crazy really, really fast. So as a distribution supervisor or whatever you may be, you want to don't have the, like I said, the all or nothing attitude. Those customers are the best customers that I have, because they are prepared mindedness. I like to use the word emergency preparedness mindedness. They have that mind where they want to be prepared if something does happen. Now, the guy who has never had anything happen, lives in suburbia area, doesn't have the mind for emergency preparedness. Those people they just never buy. They never. And they never are just never concerned until something happens. So that's why it's really good if you can have some forethought and know that things are getting worse. Climate change is here. It is affecting all of us. This is where you got to think about how, okay, maybe I do need some type of, and even FEMA says to invest into emergency preparedness strategy. They tell cities that, and they're giving grants away for this. So look into the grants. Look into if you can get some funding of some type so you can be better prepared. So think of COVID. Did anybody predict COVID would happen? Not really, right? But the CDC said it was eventually going to happen, right? And so who is our CDC here in the water and the wastewater business? That would be FEMA and EPA. And what are they saying? They're saying, we're giving out grants so you guys can be better prepared, because you know why? Something's going to happen, or something might happen in your area eventually. So try to look out for that. They touched on this on conferences a lot. FEMA, we had an EPA guy talk at one of our conferences. He was really great. So I'm going to try to give you some of that information on the next episode on the podcast. I'm not sure if I'll put it on YouTube, but most likely. So anyway, these are the points I wanted to share with you. Don't get discouraged because of inflation. Figure out a way you can try to pay for it, or just get or at least partial system. So hope this was helpful. I really appreciate you guys listening. Please let me know if you have any comments. Sign up for my email newsletter. I have more stuff that I hand out to my customers, my prospects, and all my just my listeners in general. So hit the like button, subscribe button on whatever platform you are listening on, and I would really appreciate it. It'll help us grow. We're a small business, and we're just trying to help people get better prepared. Okay? So like I always say, be safe and think ahead. Thank you.